road tolls could be going up by more than 100%, or road tolls could be factored into the price of fuel, which would then mean that the price of fuel could go up further. There's also the issue of property taxes. It is a fact that very few people pay property taxes, which by themselves are also very low. But that sits with the metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies, which have not done a good job in collecting these taxes. So should government take over and share the revenues with the assemblies? These are all issues we're learning government is mulling over, and nothing has been firmed out yet, even though we're likely to know all of that when the budget is presented tomorrow. George Rafi of Joy Business will be here to tell us what Joy Business knows. Would also be at the Bosokan Spare Parts Hub to speak with the traders there about the speculations that the benchmark values for imports could be reviewed. The GRA is saying any such move will be communicated in the budget. But the new one will be out there to engage the traders about the expectations. In education, there's research by education think tank Africa Education Watch, which shows more than 400,000 children, approximately 1 in 4 pre-primary age children, are still not enrolled in kindergarten, with over 147,000 dropping out between kindergarten and junior high school. We'll discuss this research together with other happenings in the education sector, including the Saboba St. Charles saga, where 9 students drowned over the weekend. We understand the head teacher has been remanded into police custody. The BEC is also ongoing. We'll ask them what their preliminary investigations have revealed. We'll also talk about the NSMQ, and as we engage some sponsors on the show. There's a live contest at 9 a.m. right after the show, so we will be bringing you that. We have all that and more coming up on the AM show. But up next, we're bringing you the AM News with Mapetso Sebede. Do stay tuned in.
Hello, my name is Nathaniel Atto. You can catch up with all the fun and inspiration on the Joy Sports link here on Joy 99.7 FM, together with all other shows over and over again. It's very simple. All you need to do is go to myjoyonline.com/podcast and relive all of those fun moments over and over again. Joy 99.7 FM, your radio for discerning listeners.
Joy 99.7.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapita Siwidi. In our first story, Deputy Education Minister Reverend John Ntimfojo says the head teacher and the center of the drowning of 9 students of the St. Charles Liwanga RC Junior High School at the Saboba district of the Northern Region has been interdicted. Now, he said a committee has also been set up to investigate the incident. Reverend Ntimfojo made this pronouncement on Monday at Saboba when he led a delegation to meet families of the deceased to commiserate with them.
We have paid a visit to the families of the 9 gentlemen who lost their lives in the Saboba incident. We have commiserated with them, we have ascertained the situation, and the police is assisting in investigation, and the process is taking its course. Never again must lives be lost. And the practice of teachers and some heads of schools using students as labor to carry out tasks that are unauthorized must be a thing of the past. It's archaic, it's outmoded, it's an affront to the code of conduct of the Ghana Education Service. Therefore, the necessary disciplinary actions have been initiated. Well, at the same time, the legal processes have also been commenced against the gentleman, the headmaster who offended. But as a signal to all our teachers and all our heads of schools across the length and breadth of the country, we cannot pretend to say that this incident is isolated at Saboba. Unfortunately, lives have been lost at Saboba, and that has heightened a lot of interest. But we are signaling that the practice of using children that have been sent to school to be taught, to be trained as labor for private and personal exploitation and to be carrying out tasks that are unauthorized are all offensive under the code of conduct of the Ghana Education Service, and this practice must be rooted out.
What disciplinary action has been taken against the headmaster?
Immediately that the matter came to the attention of GES, the headmaster has been put on interdiction pending further disciplinary action. On the other side, the police have also arrested the headmaster and have since put him before court. The court has remanded him for 2 weeks pending further investigation. So the law is taking its course, and disciplinary processes on GS side is also underway.
Speaker of Parliament says Ghana's Parliament remains the weakest link in the governance structure of the country. 28 years after the adoption of constitutional rule. Now, Alban Bagman says the House has only existed to strengthen the executive arm of government to the detriment of the legislator. Now, he viewed these while addressing a Speaker's breakfast meeting at the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi.
The Speaker's Breakfast Forum targeted representatives of state institutions and the general public in the Ashanti region. The forum is to deepen parliamentary democracy by opening up the legislative house to the citizenry. Main Speaker Alban Bagben revealed, for instance, he inherited no staff and handed over notes when he assumed office in January this year as the elected Speaker. He described the situation as unacceptable, warning it could undermine the independence of the legislature.
In fact, when I took over as a Speaker, in spite of my 20 years in the leadership of Parliament, I did not get the real picture of the weakness of our Parliament until I became Speaker. There's so much void that for all these 28 years, the focus of Parliament itself was to always working to strengthen the executive arm and not Parliament itself. And we passed so many laws that we even forgot to include Parliament in those laws, including the Public Procurement Act. Go and look at the terms, the offices that are used in that act, whether Parliament is factored into it. And whilst we're even talking about Presidential Transition Act, we didn't talk about Parliamentary Transition Act. So they elect you as a Speaker, and you enter into an open, empty office. No handing over notes, no staff. And that is how you start. And so as you work along, then I realized that the technical components of an institution are completely absent in the Parliament of Ghana.
The Speaker noted there are plans to legislate on the nature, scope and sanctions of the subject of contempt of Parliament. It comes in the wake of an impasse of the police attempt to arrest the Member of Parliament for Medina, Francis Susu.
You are all aware a number of MPs are before courts being prosecuted. And so there's nobody saying that the Member of Parliament is above the law. But in this particular instance of the Member of Parliament for Medina, I can put my neck for it.
There's a push for a review of the ECOWAS protocols to apply stiffer sanctions on heads of state who breach their constitution to compel them to fully comply with democratic tenets. Now, the call by a former UN representative of the Secretary General for West Africa, Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambers, seeks to cure the recent wave of military takeovers across the sub-region. He's warning of dire consequences on the security and political stability of the sub-region if the situation is not checked. He's been speaking at a consultative meeting to review the state of democracy and governance in the ECOWAS region.
The situation in the sub-region is surprisingly worse as it deteriorated faster compared to the rest of the African country. West Africa has been marked recently by processes leading to manipulation of constitutions to extend term limits, instrumentalization of justice, electoral systems that hamper participation of political or potential candidates and voters as well, electoral management bodies not sufficiently independent, excessive abuse of incumbency, state capture, and monetization of politics. The actions and actions of political leaders in particular appear to accentuate this trend by creating the necessary conditions that contribute to a decline in democratic tenets. This situation, if not checked quickly, could lead to a state of disillusionment by the population, which, with its dire consequences on the security and stability of our sub-region. It is gratifying, therefore, that in 2012, the heads of states of ECOWAS passed a supplementary act to increase the sanctioning regimes against member states who fail to honor their obligations. Member states are obliged to observe and implement the community treaties, conventions, protocols, and decisions as referred to earlier in this address, which are deemed mandatory.
Staff of the National Lottery Authority say some major challenges faced by the authority, including the non-availability of payrolls and the non-payments of big wins, have been addressed by the new Director General, Samuel Ohuku. According to the workers, interventions made by Mr. Ohuku have repositioned the authority on a positive trajectory. NLA staff have in the past protested over unfair working conditions, delayed promotions, unpaid allowances, amongst others. Assessing the 100 days of Samuel Ohuku in office as the Director General of the NLA, the staff say they are re-energized and motivated to give off their best to the authority. There's more in this report.
That's the Director General of the National Lottery Authority, Samuel Ohuku, during the observation of the Customer Service Week. Samuel Ohuku, since his appointment in office some 100 days ago, has brought renewed dynamism and vigor to the lotto operating business. According to the staff, the first 100 days has been a period of fulfilled promises. That's not all. They also observed that their colleague workers who hitherto were always absent without notification or not at post during reporting time now make it a point to always be at post. The local union chairman, Eric Tamaklo, in assessing the first 100 days of Mr. Ohuku in office, observed that some major challenges faced by the authority has been addressed, including the non-availability of paper rolls.
When we were calling for the removal of the former director, Mr. Oseyameyao, and I also recall that we make a call on the president at the time to give us a director who is listening. And I think that he has done that. The president has listened to our call to give us somebody who is listening. We are so lucky to have Mr. Samuel Ohuku as our director. On the paper roll issue, I think that issue has been dealt with. We no longer have an issue with shortage of paper roll now. It has been dealt with. And with the wins, I think we still have some of the wins outstanding, even though he has made some giant strides in making some funds available for the wins to be paid.
Acting Head of Human Resource Department, Sheila Atiemu, says the delay in promotion of workers have been resolved, boosting staff morale.
Staff morale was a bit low, or let me say very low, from previous years, but with the coming in of Mr. Ohuku, a lot has changed. Now, staff morale is very high. And what is more interesting is for the fact that he was able to champion and authorize or approve this public service document for the general promotions of staff. And so generally, they feel, yes, this is somebody who is here to listen to them, who is here to be part of them, and not just being a leader or a director general who would distance himself from his staff.
On her part, Dr. Snote, who is the acting head of the customer service, is excited about the prospect of the authority.
And to our external customers, I wish I had a few of them here for you to interview them so that you can actually see the difference between how it was and how it is now since my boss came in. So we've had a few engagements with some of them, and response rates to customer complaints, though amidst the challenges that we have as an authority, response rate has been, splendid.
Acting Director of Sales and Marketing at NLA, Kwabena Opoku-Boakye, says the measures put in place by the new leadership will maximize revenue generation.
There were issues before he came. We had issues around payment of wins because there was a huge backlog. Then the illegal lottery operators, they were doing things in full swing. But I think about a month ago, we put out an ad to regularize those who were doing the illegal lottery activities. And I think as I speak to you now, we have about 37 who have picked up forms. About 11 or 12 of them have paid up, and they are ready to work. So it's more about taxing for a takeoff, because look, this industry is a very, very difficult industry to operate in, but he has the goodwill because he's, like I say, he's pressing the right buttons, and revenue has not declined. We have stabilized because it was declining. I would say he's succeeded in arresting the decline, and we are going to put ourselves back on a growth trajectory when I'm sure by Q1 2022, all of us will start seeing the manifestation of some of the strategies that he's trying to put in place.
Several of the workers who interacted with Joy News say the positive trajectory should continue unabated. For Joy News, I am Chrissy Bakarowski.
St. Thomas Aquinas is on an early exit from the 2021 National Science and Maths Quiz after suffering a humiliating defeat at the hands of St. Augustine's College in what was the most anticipated contest of day one of the 1/8 round. Now, at the end of 5 competitive rounds, Augusta's 64 points were miles away from the reach of the Toms, who managed 41 points. Having been kicked out by Accra Academy last year, the
So I'm here with the boys themselves, the ones who have beaten the Toms. Congratulations, guys. How does it feel? I mean, there was a lot of expectation ahead of this contest. Were you expecting this much? 64 points.
Well, to be honest, we left the entire contest to God, and then we asked him to lead us where we go. So then it's to him that we give the glory.
What was the secret behind your performance on stage?
Before coming into this contest, we knew the amount of preparation we had done, and we knew who we were coming with. We were coming with God, and we knew we were going to be victors in the contest.
I see. It seemed to have been a very, easy contest for you right from round one. Were the questions that easy?
No, I think it's because we maintained our composure, and then this helped us.
Now you're moving into the quarterfinals. I mean, it's getting more difficult in the quarterfinals. I mean, what should we expect from you? What should we expect from you in the quarterfinals?
Well, we know who we came here with. He's going to be with us from 1/8 through to quarterfinals, through to semi-finals, until we get hold of the trophy and bring it back to St. Augustine's College.
So you're garnering for the trophy itself?
Yes.
I see. Who do you think is going to be a real threat to you in that journey?
With God on our side, we see no one as a threat in our way. Anyone we meet, we are going to demolish.
What's your message to the St. Thomas Aquinas boys who came and they thought that they were able to beat you today?
Well, we wish them all the best in their endeavors, and then we thank them for an exciting contest.
Okay.
They were a good competition. They weren't a small school, but then at the end of the day, only one school had to win, and of course, it had to be us. So we tell them to hope for the best. They should go and prepare and come win next year.
You may most probably meet Pesco in the semi-finals. That's going to be difficult, no?
Yeah, honestly, it's going to be difficult, but then we know we'll pull through. We came with God. We are mentioning God because we know what He can do.
Thank you. So these are the guys from St. Augustine's College.
I told you 2 hours.
Oh, you told me 2 hours.
I told you 2 hours.
Okay.
All right.
What was the secret?
Shots fired. I remember last year, It was an Accra school that eliminated St. Augustine's College. This year, watch out for us. All the Accra schools, we are picking it here, St. Chrome. So that is Augusto for you, one day after time.
What was the secret? You seem too certain that you are going to win.
We were actually prepared for them this year because last year we underestimated Accra Academy and they pulled a surprise on us. So this year we are prepared for any school. We will not underrate any school. So watch out for St. Augustine's College. Absu Ashanti, we are hosting them and we are hosting to win.
Absu
Ashanti.
Absu
Action.
Absu
Action.
Let's have a short conversation, right? Absu, action, Absu, action, Absu, action, Tell me, and they say you most likely, if you are able to win your quarterfinal contest, you most likely go and meet Pesco. That might be a difficult contest.
They are very simple. This one is there's no big deal in this one. They are already the winning team, so we are just waiting just to win.
Now, one contest is down. Yeah. The next contest, what should we expect from you?
Oh, the best. Also the best from us. Also the best from us.
Remember, the National Science and Maths Quiz is produced by the Prime Time Limited and sponsored by the Ghana Education Service in partnership with APSA Ghana. The broadcast of the National Science and Maths Quiz on Joy News is supported by Cowbell, our milk high in protein and vitamins. Papa's Pizza, taste it, love it. Tampico, simply irresistible. DBS Industries Limited, we truly are your roof experts. Kings Group Limited, set a standard. You listen, love learning. Ace Medical Insurance, the new face of health financing. Dole Yogurt, more, I need more, and Smart Up. And that's how we end the AM News with me, Mapisa CBD. The AM show continues with Nimua and Israelite.
My name is Evans Mensah, and you can relive all the fun and excitement on Top Story, Newsnight, and of course, Ghana Connect via podcast. All you need to do is to log on to myjoyonline/podcast. Search for your favorite show and relive the moment. Joy 99.7 FM, your radio for discerning listeners.
Hello there. I was just trying to catch a quick chat with Izzy, so you caught us a bit unawares. Hello, good morning, my darling Israel.
Morning to you, anyone. They're adorable.
Oh, it's so good to be here with you. How's Hearts of Folk doing?
They're doing well.
Are they?
Yeah.
Really? Scoring goals or?
Yeah.
Where? During training?
The Ghana Premier League.
Okay, Israel. Anyways, good morning. If you're just waking up, well, good for you, but welcome. This is the AM show. We're on till 9 a.m. and we've had the news and we've seen Israel dance a little bit. And now we're going to get to the nitty-gritty.
Actually.
Yeah, I was watching the intro whilst I was doing my makeup. So yeah, I saw you kind of dancing, and then doing the intro with the dancing. Like, you need some new dance moves, though.
No, I was hoping you were going to compliment my singing, actually. The whole idea was to sing.
Okay, so we're just going to move on to Daily Graphic, shall we?
Really?
Yes, really. Okay, so front page of the Daily Graphic this morning, 4 childhood cancers treatment free. Mrs. Akufo-Addo discloses. So the President of the Republic has directed that the treatment of 4 childhood cancers be included in the benefits package of the National Health Insurance. Now, these 4 cancers are Burkitt's lymphoma, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, Wilms tumor, which starts in the kidney, and retinoblastoma, which occurs in the eye. Now, these 4 constitute about 60% of all childhood cancer cases in the country. Now, a few weeks ago, remember that we had a conversation on childhood cancer. And the fact that, especially in children, once these cancers are caught early, they can be treated. But also the fact that the treatment is very expensive. So there are a lot of parents who go to the hospital and their kids get diagnosed. And then they just take them home because they really can't afford the treatment. So this is some really good news. It feels like we're making some good strides,
Yeah, I agree.
including some of the diseases that really need to be on the NHIS, because honestly, a lot of Ghanaians cannot afford the treatment.
And I also read sometime this week that they had included family planning.
Why?
In the NHIS, yes.
Oh, that's good.
They
Well, you don't have an
provided
excuse now.
Yeah.
Family planning is free. So that includes like the IUDs and the pills.
I need to
and
get
all
exactly what it entails, but I read it, I picked it up. So.
Okay, well, good stuff there. 12 teachers arrested over BEC malpractice. Oh, come on. I mean, BEC started yesterday. Already. 12 teachers arrested over BEC malpractice. I'll tell you a little bit more. Saboba tragedy, headmaster interdicted, remanded. And that story really, really sad. We'll be talking about that more in the show. Okay, so let me just do an overview of what's in the Daily Graphic this morning. Kenyatta in Addis Ababa amidst calls for ceasefire. Budget blues. Okay, so we know that the budget is going to be read tomorrow. So there's a lot that is going on. Everybody's kind of, not sure what's going to come out, what it means. I was talking to Kojo this morning.
Okay.
And he was talking about the fact that a few years ago, the import taxes had been reduced at the port.
Benchmark value.
The benchmark value, yes, had been reduced, but they're thinking of bringing it back. So one group of people, Guta, I think, are happy about that because they're saying, no, they are not happy about it. But another group of people are happy about it because they're saying that if we're going to import things that we can produce here, then it should be more expensive to import so that we're encouraged to produce more locally. But then I guess the realists are like, we don't roll like that.
The GRA is saying that we should hold on. If that's the case, we're going to hear it in the budget. So we're waiting to hear.
Yeah, we're waiting to hear.
There are a few other things that we're hearing could be coming up. One of them being road tolls. Road tolls going to go up. Going to go up. Then, but the contemplation is, do we increase the road tolls? Or we factor them into the prices of fuel, the price of fuel. So then we increase, or we make it a component of the price of fuel.
But the thing is, if it's road tolls, how do you charge somebody who doesn't...
So then we stop tolling.
But how do you charge somebody who, let's say, for example, doesn't use the Tema motorway, or doesn't go to Kaswa, or doesn't use any of the tolls?
Well, you're likely, because you're driving in Accra, essentially it's not that we're charging you a toll. Essentially, we're going to make the roads good, so that wherever you're driving, you're going to have a smooth ride.
I think we don't mind all these things if we believed that they would happen.
True.
I think that's what the real problem is. So anyway, we'll see. I have something for you. Men sucking breasts does not prevent breast cancer.
We get, these mixed messages. One time they say, yes, it helps. Another time, so who's saying this?
I think that this is Dr. Wiafia Dai. Let me just do the story for you because you seem very, very traumatized.
No, I mean, I don't like the mixed messages that they're putting out. They should be setting what they... But what do the women want, actually?
Oh, Israel. Bad Benny. So I will not die this morning because I don't understand how to answer the question.
No, I mean, I just want to know.
What do women want in time? I don't think that sucking breasts has anything to do with cancer.
Do the women... Okay, fine. Do the women want their breasts sucked?
In the right moments, yes, of course. But you don't want to think that your breasts are being sucked. I think the thing with the breast sucking cancer thing, though, is that in the process of the sucking, there's a bit of manipulation of the tissue. And so if you're familiar with that tissue, then as you suck and you manipulate, you may be able to detect lumps. So I think maybe it's just being familiar with your woman's...
Okay, but I mean, I think the women should have what they want. That's all.
Okay.
If they want their breasts, it should happen.
God. Okay. Remain relevant in changing global economy. Dr. Baumia urges civil service. Okay, so yesterday there was a banner headline. The Daily Graphic is making a correction. They said audit service saves 387 million, but what it should say is audit agency saves 387 million. Okay, so the difference is the service and the agency.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Kenyatta in Addis Ababa amidst calls for ceasefire. De Klerk to be cremated. No state funeral for him. Turning Ghanaians into lovers of taxes. Bluntly put, a government is as good as its responsible taxpayers. I don't think that Ghanaians generally have a problem paying tax, honestly. I mean, it's really just about how the taxes are being used. You know, like I said, if you go and eat and you see, you know, all the extra levies that are on the food, you know, you're fine with it. You can deal with it if you know that, you know, country's going to move forward.
And it's that your taxes are being put to some good use.
To some use, you know. And I say this every time, Israel, every time I travel and I come back to Ghana, I feel like we're like hundreds of years behind. Because when you travel, you know, like systems are working, the roads are good, the cameras are working, everything. And you come back and it's like the simplest of things cannot work. Yesterday, I was buying food. What was I buying? I was buying something. I don't remember what it was. I was buying wache. And the girl who was serving us was annoyed, as usual. And I was just thinking to myself that it's so rare to go and buy food, for example, and see the person selling it not annoyed about something. You know, most of the time, these vendors are annoyed. It doesn't really have anything to do with what we're talking about at the moment. Okay. This is just a random piece of information. So I thought that, you know, one day maybe we could have a conversation about why food vendors are so annoyed almost all the time. Like, they're so irritated. Oh, Mimpewe, I want this meat. And they get annoyed. I'm like, Charlie.
They will like give you an attitude.
Yes. Why are you giving attitude? If you're tired, close the shop and go home.
Customer service.
And like I said, this has nothing to do with the taxes conversations, which is, by the way, digitalization catalysts for job creation. That's according to the experts. Now, let me tell you about that BEC more practice. So security persons of WAEC, in collaboration with National Security, have arrested 11 teachers and a head teacher over alleged malpractice in the 2021 Basic Education Certificate Examination, which took off throughout the country yesterday. The 12 were picked up at 2 examination centers in the Offensu municipality. Okay, so what happened was that a teacher of the Offensu State A Junior High School was allegedly caught collecting money from the candidates while distributing the social studies answer booklets. According to a source, when the teacher was questioned, she admitted collecting the money, and she's saying that the children were given it to her for free. Okay, so I'm kind of getting what it is, you know. So she was probably collecting so she could give them answers and help them out. Okay, not great, but yeah. Government to complete Asin Breku Ninkuso Road. Parliament gets busy this week. Minister of Finance presents 2022 budget. Others to answer 50 questions. Sorry about the headmaster there. The Deputy Education Minister met with the families yesterday to give them some money to help facilitate, you know, the burial and all of that. But it's so sad that a head teacher can use children who have been sent to school for labor. And so, yes, he does deserve to get punished. It also opens up the broader conversation of when our kids go to school, whether it's boarding school or whatever, the extra tasks that they are roped into, you know, by the teachers and by the headmaster and those in charge. I don't know if you've ever experienced it when you were in boarding school, if you ever had, you know. I mean, there were little extra tasks that you would do, you know, take water to the house or, you know, but crossing a river to go to a farm. No, there was nothing like that. Yeah, maybe fetch some water for some master or something, but yeah. Anyway. Greater Accra rural banks, Mark Week, remain relevant in changing global economy. Ghana climate change strategy attracts world attention. Okay, there's a special supplement on AFCTA and the CIMG annual awards. Kolebu undertakes first cochlear implant in Ghana. 3 patients receive treatment. And it's nice to see we're making some strides in our health. Adopt non-political approach to avoid judgment debt. Register your training centers before June 31st. Ghana Navy wages war on piracy. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. And then there's lots of adverts and funeral announcements and Black Friday coming up. Review ECOWAS protocol on democracy to halt military coups, as Dr. Chambers. Daily Graphic Business, 2022 budget tomorrow. Youth demand jobs and startup capital. We've had that conversation extensively. We'll see what that will look like tomorrow. Parliament has failed in oversight functions, according to Professor Prempe. Chief Justice inaugurates Judicial Press Corps. Okay. We lost to a better side, Bafana coach. And obviously this better side he's talking about is Ghana. Did you ever think that Ghana would be the better side that the country was losing to? So yeah, but obviously there's still a lot of back and forth over that penalty. So we'll see how that goes. Gamanche, guest of honor for Swagger, was back page. Government will protect coastal communities from the sea. That's according to Francis Asenso-Boachi, Minister for Works and Housing. And Spintex Road slum demolished. Okay, so apparently that area, it says that area was notorious for child prostitution and drug peddling, among other nefarious activities. And so it's at the Kotobabi Junction, 30 meters from the Ecobank Junction. The slum has been a hub of operation for alleged drug peddlers and syndicates of prostitution gangs for years. Very vibrant slum, apparently. There's nightclubs, food joints, drinking bars, salons, pharmacies, all in the slum. Anyway, but it has been brought down. So I just hope that some considerations were made for rehousing and relocation, which is what really makes it difficult to kind of destroy some of these slums. So you're asking yourself that where are the people going to go? Yeah, but that's it for the Daily Graph.
Okay, so let's move to the Ghanaian Times. 2022 budget, it must tackle unemployment and economic decline, labor unions demand. And it has a photograph of Mr. Morgan Ayawene, General Secretary of the ICU. 32 prison inmates write BEC. That's wonderful. So, but prisons are supposed to reform these people. So if they are going to go to the prisons and get to write their BECs, they're certainly going to come out better people.
Well, they're going to come out with a BEC certificate, not necessarily better people.
Well, at least they went in with nothing, and they're coming out with BEC. At least the BEC is big. I'm hoping and I'm believing that they're actually going to progress, not just the BEC. They're likely to move on to do WASI, right? The WASI, and who knows? Yeah, when it comes to prison reforms, I'm more interested in character rehabilitation. I mean, definitely getting an education is great, but how much work is actually being put into character rehabilitation and kind of resetting the mindsets of the person? Because if you send some fraud boy or something who, and he comes out with a BEC certificate, he's still nothing has changed except that he's a fraud boy with a BEC certificate, likely to go back to doing what he was doing. So this is great. I'm just saying that whilst we're celebrating this, can we also focus on the character rehabilitation? The character bit is a tough one, because you try to reform someone, they'll give you all that and give you the impression that they've learned something, only for them to come out.
Using the right professionals. And then also, of course, Israel, there's also the structures that have been put in place when they come out to get jobs and all of that. If you're looking for a job and you say you're an ex-convict, I mean, it can be tough. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyways.
All right, labor agitations drop as NLC records low disputes this year. University confers honorary doctorate degree on Dr. Wiafi Akinting, the one who says that if you suck breast, it's not going to reduce breast cancer. Okay.
It has pained you, Charlie.
Oh, not really. I mean, at the end of the day, like I'm telling you, it's about what the women want. It's about what you want.
Yeah, we've had you.
Okay. Mentally challenged, allegedly murders grandparents. Oh, that's too bad. A 27-year-old mentally challenged last Friday allegedly attacked and killed his grandparents with a sharp cutlass at Newtown Extension, a suburb of Sunyani in the Bono region. River Otikenu disaster, survivors head teacher to receive psychological support. Okay. And the story about the 32 inmates writing the BEC is here on page 3. So the inmates, candidates, all males, comprise 6 from Insawa Medium Prison in the Eastern Region, including an inmate who had been discharged but came back to write the examination, and 26 from the Senior Correctional Center in Accra. So that's good. Then West Africa records 756 deaths, 3,178 governance-related protests. In African news, World Express concern about Ethiopia conflict, Kenyan policemen guilty of UK aristocrats' death, and declared to be giving private burial, media to be excluded. Let's move on to some other stories. President commends UNESCO for helping to shape policies in Ghana. Charcoal export to be banned if, you know, we're exporting charcoal. Why should we be exporting charcoal?
If what happens?
Okay, so the export of charcoal faces a ban if it is found to be a major contributor to increased deforestation in the country. Clearly, it is contributing to. So why are we exporting our charcoal outside? I mean, and depleting our forests while at it? Okay. Detect, prevent activities of violent extremists, NCC saying that. And stay in your districts for effective delivery. Yeah, effective delivery, but it's left with deliver here. MMDC's. Right. NDC describes Supreme Court review decision on Dr. Puni others as travesty of justice. Okay. And in the census spread, that's where we have the story on the budget. The labor unions demand that the 2022 budget must tackle unemployment and economic decline. BEC takes off. That's on page 18. And we continue to wish all the candidates the very best. Apparently, more than 500,000 of these candidates are writing across the country. Onam Roko Adain family admitted to basis 2. Okay. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it very well. UHAS holds Sith congregation for 6,086 students. Navrongo residents participate in vaccine trials with enthusiasm. Dr. Ansan saying that. And on page 26, Goil bulk road vehicle drivers undergo training. 5th Volta Trade Fair will spur growth of SMEs. And then GFA allays fans' fears over SAFA protests. The General Secretary of the Ghana Football Association, Mr. Prosper Harrison Ado, has allayed fears of Ghanaians over the South Africa Football Association decision to write to FIFA and the Confederation of Africa Football for a replay of Sunday's Qatar 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifier at the Cape Coast Stadium. Okay, so what is it that he's saying to allay our fears? All right, but it looks like the South Africans are bent on pushing this one. So more sports. South Africa FA plans protest against Senegalese referee. Okay, that we already know. And Ayu Black Stars won fairly. Ayu is saying that, Dede Ayu is saying that Black Stars won fairly. And coach J.E. Sapong hails FA. And on the back page of the Ghanaian Times, Ayawaso West Municipal Assembly demolishes 200 legal structures at Bawaleshi. So you were talking about one, the Sphinx Road. This one is a Bawaleshi. Okay, so this happened along the Bawaleshi traffic light at East Legon, and it happened at the weekend. MP donates 10,000 Ghana cedis items to flood victims at Nadoli Kalio. That'll be it for the Ghanaian Times for me.
Okay, so let's get into the Daily Guide. Front page of the Daily Guide, NDC playing politics with LGBTQ plus bill, says the CVV boss. Backbend hits police over Susu. Mahama NDC 1 million ballot papers dubious, that's according to Attorney General. NHIS covers child cancers, and court convicts 2 Ghanaians for illegal gold deals. Let's go straight to our international page. Millions on a knife edge. UN releases funds for Ethiopia aid. Italian gang jailed for £26 million celebrity raids. Well, that's interesting. So an international gang of jewelry thieves have been jailed for a series of high-end raids which nettled burglars £26 million worth of luxury stolen goods. They were jailed for 28 years in total. Man charged with killing 18 women in Texas to go on trial, and Steve Bannon surrenders to face contempt charges. States withdraw support for Miss South Africa and Israel. Okay, NHIS convicts child cancers, and that's in all the newspapers this morning. Let's do some entertainment. The Foundation of Creative Arts Professionals engages stakeholders on showbiz development. And we always talk about the creative arts industry and how much potentially it could fetch for us and how it could put Ghana on the map. So it's nice to know that these things are going on. Britney Spears released from 13 years conservatorship. So remember that a few years ago, well, not a few years ago, 13 whatever years ago, Britney Spears, she went on this wild ride. She was doing drugs, she was getting married randomly and all of that. So her father filed for guardianship, even though she was old enough. But it's a thing that you can do if somebody is not making the right decisions. So her father had control over her money, her personal decisions, including who to marry, dealing with her kids and all of that. Yesterday she went to court to ask that the judge allow her to manage her own life, and he granted that without any opposition from her family or her father. So I think she's on the up and up now, which is interesting. Also brings to mind child stars, when children get famous really early, and how that's handled. So that's Britney Spears. Wizkid wins Best African Act at 2021 MTV EMAs. Okay, let's continue. I think there's a little bit more entertainment on page 13. Fancy Gadam headlines Wandon concert. Musica elections. Ras Caleb joins presidential race. And Stone G's No More video making waves. Back page. Garmancha graces MTN. Swag Big Do. Safa drags Ghana to FIFA. So the South African Football Association has reportedly lodged an official complaint with the World Football governing body FIFA to look into the performance of Senegalese referee Maguette Ndiaye, who officiated Bafana Bafana's 0-1 loss to the Black Stars. Seniors tennis registration opens. This is interesting. Okay, because the seniors tennis registration, and there's a picture of Henry Korte. So I'm assuming that he's involved. Action man, bankrupt teams, employees to work for free. That's it for the Daily Guide. Yeah. And it's 7 o'clock. It's actually a minute past 7. So shall we just dive straight into Major Online?
We should.
Okay. Headline, you had no such power to arrest Sosu. Speaker tells police. That's the banner headline on My Joy Online. Other stories on My Joy Online. Can we go up, please? Okay, well, that's My Joy Online. Okay, it is a wrong perception that food prices have increased, as statistics do not. Like, this is a great minister, Jamie. I don't even understand him all. Like, this is not the first time he said it. Yeah. This is like the second or third time. What statistics?
Yeah,
I'm annoyed now. What statistics? Like you are there saying that it is a wrong perception. When we go to the market and we know that we were buying rice at this price and it has gone up, then you are telling us that your statistics do not support us. Your statistics support our pockets. Like, seriously. He does this all the time, and sometimes I wonder whether he actually knows what's going on the ground.
He says they'll be monitoring the situation, and it actually makes reference to Tamale. He says if you go to Tamale, they'll be monitoring them.
So we should go from Accra to Tamale.
And the prices in Tamale are actually tumbling, he says.
So we should go to Tamale and go and buy yam and plantain. Is that because I made a list for the house last week, and we usually buy live chicken, so fresh chicken, and then they kill it for us. And usually the broiler is like 70-something cedis. Last week when we went, the girl came back. She couldn't buy the number that I asked her to buy because the prices had gone up. Everything has gone up. Are you kidding me? In fact, please call me and let's have a conversation, so that I can let you know what's going on the ground. I did not get the real picture of the weakness of our parliament until I became Speaker, Alban Bagbin. I sincerely apologize for the picture used for the Sun winning at Keta as a Fenyo marking. And nature.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. If he's come back to apologize, that's good.
Nature of BEC timetable unfair to candidates. Coalition of concerned teachers. I was talking to one of my daughters who's writing BEC this week, and So she runs through the timetable with me, and it's just quite hectic because it's Monday to Friday. They're finishing in a week, and it's 2 papers a day. And some of them it's quite hectic. It's such a major exam. You know what I mean? So I wonder why it's been like, it must be done in a week. Why don't we give them time, to kind of have days in between? Because that's what we do, like, at university and stuff. You give time in between.
Well, that's university, but the BC is seen to be not as tough as...
It's not as tough on who?
As WASI.
On the children. I mean, for a 13-year-old, it's the toughest thing they've done in their lives.
Yeah.
And then at WASI, for a 16 or 17-year-old, it's the toughest thing you've done in your life. So can we not show some empathy, maybe?
Oh, but they write these exams and they come out. I mean, so many of them pass.
Yeah, but so many of them don't.
Not so many.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah. Anyway,
NSMQ 2021 Pesco trashes two Notre Dame schools. That was so cruel.
Yeah, your school, where have you reached? I still did it.
Yes.
Okay. AGGS, 2 other students over 1 teacher, 1 laptop initiative. All right.
Oh, of course. Lava Firms Erastus Saradonko nominated for Ghana Mining Industry Awards. I'm sure it's for all the work that he's done with the Ghana report.
Okay, well, we're going. Sports coming up next.
Hello, my name is Evans Mensah, and you can relive all the fun and excitement on Top Story, Newsnight, and of course, Ghana Connect via podcast. All you need to do is to log on to my Joy Online/podcast. Search for your favorite show and relive the moment. Joy 99.7 FM, your radio for discerning listeners.
So today on the AM show, we're focusing on the 2022 budget presentation. Joy Business has been picking up some indicators. Amongst them, the likelihood that road tolls could be going up by more than 100%, or road tolls could be factored into the price of fuel, which will then mean that the price of fuel could go up further. There's also the issue of property taxes. It is a fact that very few people pay property taxes, which by themselves are also very low. But that sits with the Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assemblies, which have not done a good job in collecting these taxes. So should government take over and share the revenue with the assemblies? That's something that government is mulling over. So we'll be talking about all of those conversations. George Jaffe will be joining me, and we'll have a conversation on that. We'll also be at the Bosokai Spare Parts Hub to speak with the traders there about speculations that the benchmark values for imports could be reviewed. The GRA is saying no such move until you hear it communicated in the budget. So we'll be hearing about that. But Enimwa will be out there to engage the traders about their expectations. But then in education, there's research by education think tank, Africa Education Watch, which shows more than 400,000 children, approximately 1 in 4 pre-primary age children, are still enrolled in kindergarten, with over 147,000 dropping out between kindergarten and junior high school. So I'll be taking you through their research in a bit, and then they'll join us, and then we can have a conversation about that, as well as the expectations about the budget as far as education is concerned. So under Article 38(2) of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, the government has an obligation to provide free, quality, basic education for all Ghanaian children, irrespective of gender, geography, religion, socioeconomic status, or one's disability. But this research by Africa Education Watch shows that more than 400,000 children, approximately 1 in 4 pre-primary age children, are still not enrolled in kindergarten, with over 447,000 dropping out between kindergarten and junior high school. Now, in the last 10 years, they're saying the number of public schools increased from 36,822 in 2010 to 41,598 in 2018, an increase of about 13%. And private schools have increased from 18,380 to 36,327. That's more like double. And then the lack of public JHS in about 25% of primary schools is a major driver of the demand for private education, affecting the ability of public primary graduates to transition to JHS. Now, there are 15,291 primary and 11,094 JHS. This means That's when 4,194 primary schools do not have access to a JHS, right? The situation is worse in rural districts like Sene East in the Bruno East region, where there are only 17 JHS, 17, 10 plus 7. 749 primary schools, meaning 65% of primary schools do not have access to a JHS. We'll be getting into these details shortly as I get joined by Africa Education Watch's Kofi Asare, plus another colleague of his. So we can get on with the conversation now. Kofi Asare is Executive Director, Africa Education Watch, and Richard Kwashi Kover is a convener, CAPCO, is a campaign against privatization and commercialization of education. All right, good morning to you, and thank you for joining us for this conversation, Kofi. So let's start with you with this research that you've picked up, you've done as far as education is concerned. Some interesting finding, but the crux of it is that there are a number of people who finish primary and there wouldn't be places for them in JHS essentially.
Exactly. Good morning. Good morning to your cherished audience. We are embarking on a campaign which is called Education Spike, with the objective of engaging governments to spike up the quality of public basic education.
Yeah.
And this campaign is being led by the campaign coalition against the privatization and commercialization of education, which is CAPCO.
Okay.
We are partnering CAPCO and then Oxfam to drum home the need for governments of Ghana to improve funding and the resourcing of public basic education as a means of improving its quality. So this research, which was a policy research, was actually part of activities to gather evidence of exclusion, evidence of neglect for basic education over the past decade.
Right.
And it is through the findings of the research that we identified that between 2008 and 2018, for instance, the share of the education sector expenditure that went to basic education reduced from 55 to 37%. That's about 18 percentage points decline, which means that as we inch towards the Sustainable Development Goals 4 by 2030, we keep reducing the percentage of basic education share of the education sector expenditure. And as you keep reducing funding available to basic education percentage-wise, it virtually means that you are limiting the ability of the Ministry of Education and GAS to build more schools. And that is why we now have 4,000 primary schools without a junior high school, where students graduate into out of school, or you have to find money and then access private junior high school education, which is expensive, unaffordable to the poorest of the poor.
So there's research that you've done is between 2010 and 2018. But so we don't know what has happened between 2019 and 2020.
Nothing significant has happened. At the end of 2019-2020 academic year, basic education received 39% of the education sector expenditure, 39%. And so nothing significant has happened.
Okay, but could we
and at the end of the 2019-2020 academic year, in that particular year, only 100 primary schools were constructed in the entire country. 261 or so districts, only 100 primary schools were constructed nationwide. It tells you that even the ratio is less than 0.5 to a district. It means that we are not expanding public basic education. In Adenta municipality, for instance, the whole of Adenta, there are only 16 primary schools that are public schools. Only 7% of the total number of basic schools in Adenta municipality are public. All of them are private, only 7%. So it means that if you are a poor person living in such such middle class, lower middle class urban settlement like Adenta, you are compelled to enroll your child in a private school or they drop out. That is why 400,000 children are still not in school.
Could it also be that the share of the percentage of people who are poor in these areas are not that significant?
It is actually
could it be a reflection of the percentage of people who are poor?
No, I think it is even more significant in municipalities like Adenta, where I have lived before. Adenta is not a middle class municipality. It's a lower middle class municipality.
But you'd appreciate that the number of people are migrating from the lower class towards the lower middle class.
Even for the lower class and the lower middle class, free compulsory universal basic education is a constitutional obligation on the government. And it does not exempt the middle class from enjoying free compulsory universal basic education, because the taxes of the middle class and the lower middle class and the poorest of the poor are the same revenue streams used to mobilize and fund free compulsory universal basic education. So why would you deny a poor person or a middle class person access to public basic education after taking their taxes to provide same for them? That is an issue. And that is why CAPCO is against the commercialization of education, because once you don't provide it, you commercialize it by restricting our access to private education.
Right, CAPCO, why is it a problem if we're having commercialization of education? Because, of course, government can't do it all. So government, yes, in the past, was heavily involved in education. But if the private sector realizes that, there's a growing middle class, which we have to cater to, and so we're building schools and attracting them, what's so bad about that?
So before I come to your question, CAPCO basically is made up of teacher unions and civil society organizations. So I'm representing the teacher unions under this and then convener. Yeah, so when you look at the statistics that you presented earlier, you notice that the private schools have grown by 98% over the 10-year period that we look at. Now, when you look at that, now per the Constitution, it didn't say that Kofi's Menu's child should not have access to education, whilst Kojo's child should have access to education. Now, if we are looking at private education as a way of helping government to fund education, then the question then comes, how many people can afford? And then we shouldn't be looking at it like, maybe just a child or there are not many. Even if it's one child, the Constitution guarantees that that child should receive quality basic education. Because that is where it all starts. It is at the basic level that character formation of the child begins. So if you don't get it right at that stage, then they grow up to become a nuisance later in future. So we are not against private people setting up schools in the community, but what we are advocating for is the fact that people should have the choice as to where they want their children to educate. They want to educate their children. So when we have a situation where I live in an area where the only option I have is a private school, so if I do not have the means, then we'll have the over 400,000 children who are not yet enrolled in school. They will also have, maybe at the beginning I could afford, but then along the line, my work is no longer earning me that much, so my child is likely to drop out of school. So we have a situation where we have about 147,000 children dropping out of school, and that is a concern.
At which level?
Between KG and then junior high school. So that is a great concern.
That's 36 every day. 36 every day.
So it's a great concern that we should all be very, very much concerned about, because...
And are they dropping out because they don't have access, or they're dropping out for a number of reasons?
Yeah, so this is a situation at the kindergarten level. Maybe that is the only option they have. And then currently we are experiencing what we call low-cost profit schools. And then most of these schools operate on what we call pay-as-you-go. Pay-as-you-go means that because they realize that the people in those areas do not have enough resources, they cannot afford to pay school fees. Very good. So they will tell you, you pay 3 cedis, 50% or 5 cedis a day. So it means that the day the parent does not have money, that child has to stay at home.
All right.
So the day the child is not in school, that means the contact hours, what the child is supposed to learn that day, is gone. When he comes back the next 3 days, when the parents could afford money, it means that we're not going to teach what he has lost. So if we are educating our children, our citizens, in a pay-as-you-go manner, what it means is that we are losing it as a country.
Okay. I want us to avoid a situation where we may be exaggerating the situation. So is it the case that people have attempted or they want to enroll in a particular school, in a public school, and the school says, we can't accept you? Is that what is happening? Are we getting that?
Yeah, so that is also there. So we are talking about infrastructure. So if you look at our study, it also talks about infrastructure for basic, public basic education. Now, so the current situation around the urban areas and then the peri-urban areas where probably you find one public school at the corner and then you have to walk like 6-10 kilometers. That could accommodate only 60 people. And currently, most of them are hosting close to 100 pupils per class. And so adding more means that some of them must learn on the corridors or under trees. And so when the school is overburdened with the enrollment, they will have to reject some people. So when you post-COVID school reopening...
Do they actually reject people?
They are not rejecting, but you don't have a place to put the child.
So they maybe sit you out.
So they will tell you check from the next school because the classrooms are choked. Where you stand before you teach, it's not there. And most of the schools are running shifts. Even under the shift system, the enrollment is still high. So when you have that situation, and one thing about education is that actually at the lower level, is that we don't have to put so much children in one class. Because when you do that, you are babysitting, you're not really teaching. Because every child has a unique learning ability needs. Okay. And so the teacher must have that individual attention for each of them. So when the class begins to grow to the extent that you cannot give the children that individual attention, then the quality of the education you are delivering is affected in one way or the other.
So in the last few years, we've seen that government is focusing or spending quite a bit on free SHS. So you'd appreciate that certainly you're going to see a lot more money when you look at it in percentage terms. The amount of money that will be coming to the basic level, education at the basic level, will be dwindling. But it may not necessarily mean that we're spending less at the basic education level. I would want us to come to that in a bit. But still, we're still focusing on the budget, and we'll be coming as well to look at what your expectations are as far as the budget is concerned and what you'd want to see done differently when it comes to the amount of money or funding that's going to the basic education. But I also have George Riafi. He has been monitoring the conversations between the people involved in the putting together the budget. And he's been monitoring the meetings, the back and forth meetings and all of that. So he's joining us, and he's going to be telling us what he's picking up, and the indicators that they've been picking up in the last year. One of the interesting things that I'm hearing is the possibility that we're going to get property taxes going up, we're going to get road tolls going up, and whether it's going to be factored into the price of fuel and all of that. These are conversations that George Rafi will be bringing to us. But we'll take a quick break, just a quick break, and then we'll come back. All right, so let's continue. We're having some issues with the connection to George, so we'll resolve that, and then we'll have that conversation with him. So I was asking, looking at how much money is being spent on free SHS, could it be that it does not necessarily mean that we're spending any less when it comes to basic education?
Yeah, so when you look at it in totality, looking at the numbers, you assume that you are spending so much, but on the ground, it's little. Why am I saying that? It is said that when you draw a budget and cannot take care of your need, meaning you've not even put proper plan in place when you're drawing your budget. So if we consider education as a critical sector of the economy, which is supposed to be produce human capital, then there's a need for us to put more money into education. And then it may not come within the shortest possible time, but in future you get the money back. So whatever money that is invested in the education can be recouped within a 10 years period. But when the people get quality education and can go out there and then turn raw materials into finished products, instead of always asking for investors to come and do that, and then the money goes back and we go and borrow it, if we can restructure our educational system to take care of that, what it means is that most of the borrowing that we do, we will not do it because we have built our human resource in a manner to take care of our needs. And that is what China, Singapore, Malaysia, and the rest have done. So if we want to get there, go Ghana beyond age, then what it means is that we have to invest more in education. Okay. And it should start from the basic level. So I always say that we currently in the country, due to the poor investment in basic education, we do not have the resources to train the children in a manner that they can identify where their talent is. And so some people even finish university and they're still looking for what they can do.
Okay. I tend to appreciate where you're coming from when you say that. Essentially, you're saying we are focusing, or we could do a whole lot more to overhaul the education system at the basic level,
yes,
so that it becomes more relevant.
Yes, very, very relevant. That is why it should start from, not the child getting to university before.
So I would ask you, Kofi Asare, this is the same question I put to him. Is it the case that we're spending less on basic education? Because what I've heard so far has to do with the percentage involved. I mean, when it comes to basic education, the percentage involved is declining. But does it mean that the amount of money actually being spent is declining?
Yeah, before I come to that, let me reiterate the fact that there are Ghanaian children who have been denied admission into public schools because the schools are full.
That's the case?
It is never an exaggeration. It is never an exaggeration. We have
so
done...
they attempt to want to enroll in a public school, and they're told that we can't take you.
It is too common, it shouldn't even be news. You understand? But if you have 25% of your primary schools not having junior high schools, where would the 25% graduate into? If you go to AME Zion School in Ninyano, you won't get admission. Umaria, you won't get admission. If you go to EB Primary, or EB Primary right now, Primary, there are already 80 in a class, 70 in a class. There's no admission there. And the school is already running a shift system. The 70 is actually one shift. So the fact that many public schools are full, the reason why the poorest of the poor or citizens whose taxes are supposed to be used to, are being used to finance free basic education, cannot enjoy what their taxes are being used to finance, is no news. Admissions are not available in these schools, especially in the urban and peri-urban areas. So parents are compelled to enroll their children in private schools. That is why the financing question is very important. As we keep declining the budgetary allocation and the expenditure allocation to basic education, the reason that all you are doing is that you are actually reducing the number of schools you can build in a year. It is as simple as that. There were times we were building 500 schools in a year. If in a year we build 100 primary schools, it means that there's limited money available. Now look at the budgets. In 2019, the CAPEX budget, the capital expenditure budget of the Ministry of Education, from which schools are built, was only a little above 1 billion. That's 1 billion. And that was 6.7% of the entire education sector envelope. The cash goes into payment of salaries and goods and services. So CAPEX only 6.7. Out of the 6.7, majority of the money went into free secondary education infrastructure.
All right.
Basic had very little. Now, GET Fund...
The amount that went to basic, is it less than what was given the previous year?
It was nothing to write home about. It was less than 15%. Very, very small. Very, very small. So the significant amount went into secondary and tertiary. Secondary had about half of that amount. Come to GET Fund. GET Fund is the biggest source of infrastructure development or financing in the sector, especially for basic schools. But GET Fund has suffered a setback in the past 4 years. Since 2017, when the finance minister went to Parliament and got Parliament to pass the Capping Act, the law capped GET Fund at 25%, in addition to other statutory funds. The effect of the capping on GET Fund's allocation is that irrespective of the inflow, as you pay VAT, you pay the get fund, irrespective of the inflow, get fund allocation is capped at 25%. So the meaning is this year, only 1.4 billion was allocated to get fund. Out of about close to 5 billion that we project would have accrued to get fund. You understand? So the finance minister will take about 3.5 from the get fund receivables and allocate only 1.4. The remaining 3.5 also will go to other sectors for other purposes. Okay. Now this 1.4 billion that came to get fund, 60% this year, 60% went into debt financing in the education sector, debt servicing. So only 40% of the 1.4 billion was available for allocation. So how many schools can you build? You understand? So the capping of get fund is hurting basic education infrastructure. I'm not saying secondary education infrastructure because for secondary education, we have used part of get fund as security to go for a $1.5 billion, not cedis, $1.5 billion loan, which is now being converted into a fixed term bond at 20.5 coupon rate. So there's cash to finance secondary education infrastructure expansion because that loan is mainly, it's not entirely, but mainly geared towards expanding secondary education infrastructure and then ending the double track system. But basic education hasn't got that special attention.
Yeah.
So the capping of get fund is killing initiatives to build schools. If you don't build schools, how can you provide 4,000 primary schools with junior high schools? We have predicted and advised government that in the next 5 years, so in the next 4 years, we have to construct a net of 1,000 schools, junior high schools, in a year to bridge the gap and ensure parity between the number of private schools, the number of primary schools and junior high schools, so that every child that has access to a primary school will not have to struggle to go and access junior high school or drop out. Now, how can you ensure that you are building a net? I'm not saying 1,000 junior high schools a net. It means that if you build 100 junior high schools this year, you have to build 200 senior high schools.
Yeah.
Don't build primary schools without junior high schools again.
Okay.
And ensure that you are building at least 100 plus a net of 100 junior high schools every year. How can you do this if get fund has been capped? And get fund is losing about 2/3 of revenue to other sectors. And the basic education is being underfunded from the capex angle. It is not possible. That is why we are saying that the finance minister must take a second look at the capping of get fund because it is hurting the ability of the Ministry of Education to provide schools at the basic level, especially in urban, in peri-urban areas, and then some rural schools where we have schools taking place under trees. Right. And we have 5,400 schools that are taking place this morning under trees and then under sheds.
The finance minister, before any budget presentation, would engage in consultations.
Yeah.
Has Africa Education were taking part in any such consultations?
Yeah, we have. We are part of Africa Education Watch Education Spike. There's a civil society budget called platform where CSOs came together to discuss issues and then submit a common position on the budget.
Did you make these recommendations?
Yes, we started engaging the finance ministry about a month ago.
All right.
From here, I'm attending a meeting at the finance ministry from here. So you've been having discussions with the finance ministry on the need to uncap the get fund, you see. If we want to say basic education is a priority, we must move beyond the grammar and let it reflect our wallets. If we make basic education a priority and we decide to resource it well, there wouldn't be any reason why in an entire municipality like Adenta, you have only 16 primary schools and then over 15 government primary schools and over 200 private primary schools. So we must start from somewhere. And we want to start from the point where citizens must not accept the fact that
the private schools are taking over.
No, they must not accept the fact that it is cool not to have access to a good public school. It is not cool because your taxes are supposed to be used to provide your children with a good public school. So the fact that you are in Accra does not mean that you are confined to a private school. Yeah. No, government's obligation doesn't end with your community being urban, and for that matter, government cannot, shelve or if you like, government cannot sit back and watch the private sector actually fulfill a responsibility of government.
That should be that of government.
That's
so we'll be coming to this conversation, the question that I asked about your expectations of the budget. But I have George Jaffe now on. Hello, George.
Hi, Easy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Okay, so we've been looking at, we've been hearing what government is seeking to do, especially with road tolls and property taxes and all of that, plus the benchmark values. I'd want us to start with the road toll, that government is what? Contemplating scrapping road tolls entirely and then rather incorporating it into the prices of fuel.
Yeah, Israel, you're right on that one. So there are two options on the table as we speak right now. One is that either they increase the current tolls as it stands right now, or put it on price of petroleum products. So you have a situation where the road toll component on price of petroleum products are expected to go up. And so things are still being finalized as we speak, Israel, right now. And why government is doing that, they want to find a very innovative way to finance the poor road infrastructure that we have in the country. That is why that is being considered on the road toll angle, Israel.
All right, but I'm sure government also appreciates that if they factor it into the price of fuel, then you're going to essentially that's going to impact the prices of virtually every commodity in the country.
You're right on that one. And the argument has always been made that what is the safest way, or quote, laziest way in raising revenues, just to lump it on petroleum products, because you and I, everyone cannot escape from it. And that is why that option is also being looked at, Israel. I mean, what we are sure of and what we can firm up is that they are looking at a more innovative way to widen the tax net. Would that result in rates going up, or more of an efficient avenue in the collection of taxes is still being considered? As we speak right now, meetings are being finalized on the budget with respect to the way forward to improve revenue. So anything can happen, Israel, as we speak right now, before the minister goes to Parliament to present the budget.
The other thing that you mentioned has to do with property taxes. What exactly is government seeking to do with that? Because it has typically been something that the MMDAs have been handling. But you're saying that government is looking at taking it over.
So, Israel, there's a current ongoing debate about how can the revenue be expanded. And one area that has been seriously under-mobilized when it comes to revenue has to do with property tax. Now, what we are picking up is that can we still allow these local authorities to collect these taxes and then government finds a way to share with them, or the government takes over the collection of these taxes and then more of a 50-50 or share it with these local authorities? Look at an area like East Legon. It is believed that still most properties there are not being taxed. So that is also being connected, because the challenge right now in Israel is that either we mobilize more revenue locally or we go out and borrow. The other option being considered, which is seen as the best, is raising revenue more locally, Israel.
All right, and then the other thing has to do with the benchmark values on imports. There's been some back and forth on that. What exactly is government looking at?
Well, Israel, what we can say for sure is that it is going to be reviewed. What is being in contention right now is that which items should it affect. But what we can assure you right now is that that policy is going to be reversed.
It's going to be reversed or reviewed?
Yes, reversed. So now it's going to go back, and the 50% will now be applied on items that are being imported. But right now, which are those key items that it should affect? That is what is being fine-tuned right now as we speak, Israel.
What other indicators are you picking as far as government mobilization of revenue is concerned? You've talked about a number of things. You've talked about the road tolls consideration vis-a-vis slapping those taxes on the price of petroleum products. And then you've also talked about the property taxes. Is there anything else that government is looking at, something quite radical?
Well, they will be hard on revenue. And as I'm saying that, there's still this argument about whether you improve efficiency or you still look at hiking rates, but they'll be very, very heavy on revenue as we speak right now. Talk about the fiscal consolidation and also being heavy on supporting private sector to create jobs. So for those broad themes, we can assure that whatever, irrespective of whatever happens in today's meeting, that could be the broad focus of the budget when they present to Parliament.
All right, thank you very much, George Wiafe. George Wiafe is with Joy Business, and he has been giving us some insights and indicators that Joy Business has been picking as far as the budget is concerned. The budget is going to be presented tomorrow, and it's going to be live here on Joy News and on Joy FM and all of our platforms.
Hello, my name is Nathaniel Atto. You can catch up with all the fun and inspiration on the Joy Sports link here on Joy 99.7 FM, together with all other shows over and over again. It's very simple. All you need to do is go to myjoyonline.com/podcast and relive all of those fun moments over and over again. Joy 99.7 FM, your radio for discerning listeners.
Joy 99.7. But back into the studio with Kofi Asare. So we're expecting that the budget is going to be presented tomorrow. What are the kind of things that you would want to see or hear from the finance minister to assure you that they intend to take basic education, the funding of basic education, a lot more seriously?
Yeah, so tomorrow, what we are expecting, CAPCO is expecting, is to hear the finance minister telling Ghanaians that we are decapping this on the gate fund to make that difference available for infrastructure development at the basic level. That is the most thing that we are expecting to hear tomorrow, and we'll be very disappointed if the issues of education infrastructure at the basic level is not taken seriously in the budget, because as the years goes by, the numbers are increasing. And if you look at the deliveries that we receive on a daily basis at the various hospitals, what it means is that we are not planning ahead of time. And that data should guide us in planning for education and other resources. But it looks as if there's that disconnect between what is happening. Because if a child is born today, in 4 years' time, he will start school. Mm-hmm. So it means that there should be provision for that child starting from today that he's born. So if you are not doing that as a nation, and we are focusing on other areas that are more or less exhaustible expenditure, what it means is that we'll keep going round, what we call at the KG level, merry-go-round. And it's not helping us. So we want to see an investment in education infrastructure being captured in the budget. Then also, apart from the physical infrastructure, we want to also see a lot of resources being put there, because education delivery goes with resources. So if you look at the current state of our schools, the only good resource there is a professional teacher. If you take the professional teacher out...
In some schools.
In some schools, yeah. If you take the teacher out, it means that it is nothing to write home about. So we want to see a lot more investment. We're talking about digitization. It means that in our classroom, there should be technology-mediated approach to our teaching. So I know they've started with one laptop per teacher. But it also means that the children also need that. So we want to see more of these things schools being furnished with these facilities, so that we can begin to develop the children to think critically, through develop their research ideas right from the scratch. So that is what other countries do. So that's one of the things. So then, as a teacher, a leader of a teacher union, I want to say on the authority that we are not going to accept the 7% that was budgeted for 2022. So we want to see a budget that reflects that, because we were going to call for a renegotiation for the 20, because we can't survive.
Yeah.
So if a teacher goes to a class very hungry, definitely the children are going to suffer. And these are some of our expectations from tomorrow's budget.
All right, and you could.
Yeah, I think. He's mentioned the need for the capex expenditure, the capex allocation to the Education Ministry to move to significant levels, at least up to 20%. But, there's one thing about this budget that should compel the GAS and the Ministry of Education to put its acts together when it comes to teacher rationalization. I'm expecting the capex expenditure or allocation to increase from 6.7 to about 20%. It means that another subsector's expenditure will have to reduce. And it may be salaries. And I am happy to see salaries not increasing significantly, but rather remaining stagnant, and the increment affecting capex. Why am I saying so? We need money to build more schools, and capex must increase. But if you look at the teacher issue, I'm talking about teacher rationalization, we keep saying that we have more teachers that are surplus to manpower in the system. So the emphasis should not be on recruiting new teachers just to post them to areas where they are not needed. We are doing a teacher rationalization study. In Adenta and Kumasi Metro alone, there are 500 teachers that are surplus to manpower in primary schools, just primary schools.
And if you say they are surplus, so they're simply idling?
They are idling. Adenta has 16 primary schools. They have more than 200 teachers. What are they doing there? Adenta. I won't go any further. Adenta. So 16 primary schools. 16. Adenta alone has over 200 teachers that they are not required. They are surplus to manpower. In between 2019 and 2020, when Adenta was already overpopulated with teachers, we actually increased the number of teachers by about 137 more, just in the election year.
And these are public school teachers?
Public primary schools. And this is data for the Education Ministry, not our data. So we have always said that if you look at the projection on the Education Strategy Plan, the number of teachers we need to deliver in primary and junior high schools is about 285,000 or so. We have passed that number. So why are there empty classrooms in many schools? It means that some teachers are available in areas where they are not needed, right, but they want to be there because they want to be in town. So at Denta, we've done only 2 municipalities, 1 metro, 1 municipality, Kumasi Metro and Adenta. These 2, there are over 500 teachers that are surplus to labor requirements. So if the finance minister fails to give clearance to recruit more teachers, and I know the teachers waiting for posting will not be happy with me.
Yes.
But I'm asking for money to build schools. You see, it's a chicken and egg. So if
the schools are built, then they could be hired.
There's an opportunity cost. You can't ask finance minister to build 200 or 300 or 400 junior high schools this year and expect same to give clearance to recruit 40,000 teachers. Where will the money come from? So address teacher salary issues, yes, I agree. But what we are saying is that if you are increasing the budget, increase it towards capex so that we can eliminate the 5,403 schools and the trees much faster. But we have to build 700 every year for the next 5 years. We need 3.5 billion. There's no money. So put in money there and put in money towards building junior high schools in the 4,000 primary schools without junior high schools, so that the child in Nkwanta South can complete primary school and continue. However, because you have excess teachers in some of the districts, make sure you redistribute them, rationalize their distribution, and take them to Nkwanta South where they are needed. After that, we can talk about hiring new teachers. Other than that, you will be throwing money away, and money that is not even available. So as we are talking about an allocation of funding, we are not losing sight of the fact that we must be efficient in our spending. And we are not shy to say that.
But puts government in a really tight situation where you have all these ones who are coming out of teacher training and they're expected to be posted. And yet you're saying that they're surplus. And so the people idling about, and so government shouldn't ideally be adding to these numbers.
You only add to it if you have optimally distributed. You only add to it if you have optimally distributed. But when you have more than 200 teachers being idle in a Delta municipality, why do you deploy another one again there? I mean...
And despite, in the face of all these challenges, the teachers are also saying that we're not going to accept the kind of...
They are talking about the salary remuneration for work, okay? Yeah. So this is different from the employment of more teachers to add to a deficient teacher distribution system. If you don't fix the system the system deploys teachers on an inequitable basis. Okay, if you don't fix the system, no matter how much water you pour in a basket, it will leak. That's the point I want to make.
Right.
The solution to ensuring that the students in Mafidugami have, and by the way, the data didn't show me that Mafidugami will get teachers this year.
Okay.
So, the difference between the reason why the children in Mafidugami, where only one teacher is teaching the whole entire junior high school, and Adenta, where there are 200 teachers doing nothing, is that one place is a rural area, one place is a neighborhood, but they are all Ghanaians. The taxes of those farmers there are used to pay the teachers in Adenta. So no one should be discriminated.
Sure.
And that is why we believe that the GES cannot continue approaching teacher deployment as always deploying more teachers. No, that is not the solution. The solution is to first rationalize the distribution system, ensure that it is equitable before you add to the numbers. Okay. Then we know that we are spending well and we are spending good.
All right. So, well, we're looking forward to what the finance minister is going to say in his budget presentation tomorrow, which I indicate is going to be here, live here on Joy News and on Joy FM, as well as our other platforms. So thank you very much for you coming through to the studio. Richard Kwashikove is convener at CAPCO. That's a campaign against privatization and commercialization of education. And Kofi Asari is with Africa Education Watch. Thank you to you both. Pleasure. We're taking a break here on the AM show. After the break, we'll talk about the NSMQ and have a conversation with Airtel Tigo, sponsors of the quiz. Do stay tuned in.
What's up, guys? My name is Sammy Forson, host of the Weekend City Show and Ignition right here on Joy 99.7 FM. Well, anytime you happen to be busy and you miss out on your favorite shows right here on Joy FM, here's what you can do. Log on to myjoyonline.com/podcast. Just go on there and you'll find all your shows on demand 24/7. There you can catch up. Remember, Joy FM remains your radio for discerning listeners.
All right, so you're still on the AM show, and just gone by, you saw on your screen the results of the contests in the National Science and Maths quiz at the 1-8 stage. And we've had some very interesting results. We're going to be talking about those ones and looking ahead to some of the contests that we have. Joining me in the studio now is Nancy Aso Esiedu Amrado, who's the head of brand management at Tigo and Airtel Tigo. And then we have Samuel Ajo, who's Associate Client Service Director at Prime Time. Good morning to you both, Samuel and Nancy. Thank you for joining us. So I'm starting. Samuel, having heard you talk about your school before, which school?
My school was Aquarians, St. Thomas Aquarians.
Oh, so that you guys got knocked out? Yes?
Well, we were knocked out, but we'll be back. We'll be back. Yes, we'll be back strong.
How about you, Nancy?
Okwapman Secondary School.
Oh, Okay.
Yes, and we are still in, you know.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, now you're going against, we're going against.
Why do you say unfortunately?
We're going against Accra Academy, which happens to be my other school. So I did A level at Accra Academy. I'm conflicted.
So we are both Okwas.
Yeah, we're both Okwas, yeah, no doubt.
And somehow you are with Accra
at the same time.
So why not throw your weight behind Okwas?
Okay, at this point, whichever. But the other school that's in there, that's, definitely.
Don't worry, I believe in my team.
Yeah.
And I'm throwing all my weight behind them.
I don't think you should just believe in yourselves now, because last man can cause a surprise.
Really?
Yes.
You are out, so leave it for us to discuss.
But we can't leave him out of the competition. But it's interesting that we're having some very interesting contests and outcomes. Yesterday, for instance, there's one of them that there was this contest where the school beat the school that was following them by just a point.
Yes.
Yeah, the Canton
SHS
Canton.
from Tumu.
Very, very interesting contest.
On paper, they met Apam Senior High School and then Ascent State College, who I would say that they are rising giants and the National Science and Maths schools, because
and Ascent and even Apam, both of them, you would want to think that
exactly.
they would just get rid
on
of
paper,
Canton.
it's more or less a contest between Apam and Ascent State College, but Cantons did give them a huge surprise, and it's quite interesting. We are very happy that we see this so-called smaller schools also fighting their way up. And
it's becoming clear that the schools are really putting in their all.
A lot. At least
with each passing year, you see new schools emerging and upsets all over the place.
Exactly. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that I knew about Canton prior to the moving to Kumasi, and they were putting a lot of effort to ensure that they would at least move up that stage. And interesting, for the first time, they are getting seeded because they are moving to the quarterfinal stage.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy. Very happy.
That's good. That's good. All right. So Nancy, how long has Airtel Tigo been associated with the NSMK?
Okay, so let me take you back. In 2017, Tigo, at the time we had not merged.
Yeah.
So Tigo sponsored NSMQ, and after the merger in 2020, we also came on board. And this year we are on board. So I can say that 3 times we have sponsored the NSMQ.
Okay. And you decided to sponsor the highest scorer of the day.
Yeah.
Why?
Okay, so when the team reached out to us, we realized that there were so many sponsorship packages, but we thought about something different. We try as much as possible to be different all the time, even with our products and services, which I'll talk about later.
Okay.
So what we decided this time was not just sponsor prime time, but then see what we can also give to the students so they can take home with something. So what we are doing with the highest scorer award is that on each day's quiz, the one who emerges at the top should take home something. We don't want to carry all the resources and give it to one person or one school to say, probably you won, so take it away. We want to continue motivating them at every stage.
Right.
So when you guys go into the quiz room and one person emerges, you should go home with something. We don't want an instance whereby if you are knocked out, like my team member here,
St. Thomas Aquinas.
when you're knocked out, you don't go with anything. So efforts are being rewarded every stage, every day. When there is a quiz, somebody is taking home with something. So for the first stage, which is the preliminary stage, they are taking home with 1,000 Ghana cedis. So every day, someone is taking away with 1,000 Ghana cedis, and it's going to continue. When you get to the next stage, you are taking 2,000 Ghana cedis, the next one 5,000, 10,000 being the highest. But cumulatively, when you put everything together, it's coming to about 50,000 Ghana cedis.
Right.
But that's not the amount
That's
of the
all.
sponsorship. It's part of the sponsorship fee that we have decided to give it out to the schools.
Okay.
And just to add to it, in a day's contest, for instance, when we have about we have about 6 or so contests in a day. So if, let's say, for all the 6 contests in the day, each school, or they are tied on the same point with the highest. It means that all of them, or each school will get.
So yesterday, who's picking up? Who picked it up yesterday?
I think that was St. Peter's.
St. Peter's.
They won with 65 points. Augustins unfortunately couldn't. After beating Aquinas, they couldn't hit the higher score. So they got 64 points. So
essentially, want to say after they are Tobe, they still get it right. All right, so what products are you bringing on board targeted at the students, especially through the NSMQ, apart from the cash award that they're getting?
Okay, so in today's data world that we know data is the ish, so it's like a commodity.
So I saw
you can't live without it.
There was a comment yesterday and somebody said, in this Ghana, if you don't have data, I mean, if you are not happy, it means you probably don't have data.
That's true.
Because there's so much fun happening on social media. Yeah. That if you have data and you can get access, you'll be fine.
That's true. Lose your phone today, you'll be itching. It's because you want to go online. So we've got 3 basic data products that we are bringing on board. We've got big time data bundles, Sikakoko data. We also have Morning Rush. And what big time data bundles does for you is that we give you a certain volume and it doesn't expire.
Okay.
We were the pioneers of it doesn't expire. We brought it, we set the pace, and all the others are following. And we are proud to say that. That's why I told you that we always want to be different. We always want to set the pace with something new.
Okay.
So apart from big time data, that comes in different ranges from as low as 25 MB to the highest, which is about 50 CDs. We've got Sikakoko data that also it comes in ranges. So when you dial *111# *111#, the menu will open and you will see ranges of products. But the key ones I know would be great for the students would be the Airtel Tigo Big Time Data Bundles, Airtel Tigo Sikakoko data. And then we also have the Morning Rush for those who would want to browse in the morning from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. We give you volumes, huge volumes of data that you can use to browse, do your research, and enjoy conversations with friends as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Does that make Airtel Tigo the official data or network for the NSMQ?
Yeah.
In a way, you could say that because they are the telco with the brand. So obviously, you could say that.
All right. So, well, let's look at some of the contests that we have today, coming up today.
Well, we have quite a number of contests, but my pick actually is the contest that features Van Supreme School, Ghana National College, and TMAS, I think Kumasi also.
So all 3?
Yes.
In Van Supreme School,
Ghana National.
Ghana National.
And then TMAS. That's my pick for the day's contest, and it's going to be very exciting. Van Supreme went through the regionals, and they were able to make it, and then won the regional Amsterdam Regional Championship. Now Ghana National were seeded, and they have to meet the rival in Cape Coast is coming to play. Then, of course, TMAS and Kumasi, who are more or less the residents now with the NSMQ. So it's going to be a very, very exciting contest. Presec also in the contest, I think, which many will say that being the defending champions, naturally,
you expect them to progress.
But for me, I keep saying, Science and Masters has turned out to be a new beer.
Yeah.
If you believe in yourself, if you are confident, you could get the shock of your life.
Yeah. All right, Nancy, how does the future relationship with between Airtel Tigo and NSMQ look like, judging from the experience in 2020?
So far, if we look back, Airtel Tigo has been sponsoring NSMQ because, as part of our strategic direction, we want to support education. CSR focuses on education and health as well. We have other health programs that are coming up. So long as our company's direction on CSR remains to be education, it means that we'll continue to throw our weight and sports behind the NSMQ.
Great. And you've been itching to talk about Airtel Tigo, your network, and why people should not choose any other network than Airtel Tigo. So now you tell us.
Okay, if you look at Airtel Tigo, in recent times we are running a promo called the Tugu Meso promotion. And
you should say it very well. The way you're saying the Tugu Meso, that's not the way. Tugu Meso.
It's Tugu Meso. I mean, shower on me. Shower me.
But that's not the way they say it.
It's Tugu Meso.
Samuel, is that the way they say it?
No, she's not saying
it the way.
How should it be said?
Tugu Meso. Tugu Meso.
Oh my God, Tugu Meso. Anyways, so we are sharing a lot of cash, data, and minutes onto our customers. Every day we are sharing as much as 1,000 Ghana cedis to lots of customers.
Okay.
So you could win 200, 500, but the max for the day is 1,000 Ghana cedis. And every week we are rewarding as much as 10. So let me go step by step. So from 1,000, we've got 5,000, which is the weekly, and then the monthly is 15K. So you have up to 1,000 per day, up to 5,000 per week, and then up to 10,000 for the entire month.
Okay.
So
and what do people do to get that?
You just have to dial the *500 hash, and you do an activity, so you can recharge and use it to make lots of calls, recharge 5 cedis or more, and you are being given data or minutes, call minutes, every hour. So every hour, Airtel Tigo is rewarding lots of customers with data, 2 GB, or minutes, which is 30 minutes. Or every day, some of them are also getting 1,000. Every week, people are getting 2,000, 5,000. Monthly, you are getting up to 15,000. And at the end of the promo, you are getting the winner 100,000 Ghana cedis. So this is something Airtel Tigo is giving out to the overall winner of the campaign. And then the first runner-up is taking 50,000, and then the last, or the third, I would say, is taking 25,000. So there's a lot of cash, and this is over 1 million Ghana cedis we are giving out as cash prizes from the time we launched, which was in October to December. So this Christmas, I would say that Airtel Tigo is here with lots of love, with cash, with minutes, with data, and we encourage everyone to join the network if you are not on it, because even if you join today, and like I said, you dial the *500 hash, you register, you are part of the promo, and you can win.
Okay, so here we're seeing Airtel Tigo Tuguing on NSMQ, Tuguing on the students, Tuguing on prime time, and Tuguing on your customers.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you very much. Nancy Aso Esiedu Amrado is the head of brand management at Airtel Tigo, and Samuel Ajo, he is associate client service director at Prime Time. Thank you very much to you both for joining us for the conversations this morning. And we're looking forward to a contest. We have one coming up at 9 o'clock.
Yes.
And it's going to be live here on the Joy News channel.
There's just Presec Ghana Senior High School Tamale, and then St. Mary's Boys. Appoint.
We'll see how that goes.
Sure.
All right.
What's up, guys? My name is Sammy Forson, host of the Weekend City Show and Ignition right here on Joy 99.7 FM. Well, anytime you happen to be busy and you miss out on your favorite shows right here on Joy FM, here's what you can do. Log on to myjoyonline.com/podcast. Just go on there and you'll find all your shows on demand 24/7. There you can catch up. Remember, Joy FM remains your radio for discerning listeners.
All right, but right now we're crossing over to Abosokai, where Enimu Enimado, the adorable, is blessing the streets with herself. So she's going to be engaging with the spare parts dealers to get to understand what their expectations of the budget which is going to be presented tomorrow is. So Enimwa, So what's happening there?
Hi, Israel. So we're at Abosokain this morning, and we're just coming to have a conversation about the concerns of the spare parts dealers when it comes to the budget tomorrow. So yesterday, a press statement was released by the Abosokain Spare Parts Dealers Association about, and Guta, about the issues that they are concerned with when it comes to the benchmark value that has been in the news for the last few days. So joining me is Mr. Eric Otri-Entry. He is the PRO for the Abosokain Spare Parts Dealers Association. And I just want him to go through the press release for us and, of course, talk about what the expectations are in terms of government's response. So good morning, sir. Thank you so much.
Good morning, my dear, and thanks for having me.
Okay, so do you want to just go through the press statement with us from yesterday?
I think briefly, the press release that came out yesterday mainly has to do with the government's intention to scrap the benchmark value. And then, as we all know, the benchmark value came in existence in 2019, after the agitation by the business community. It just didn't come up. We fought for it, and then the benchmark value came just to help businesses from collapsing. Yeah.
Okay, so are you worried about what the implications will be if this benchmark value is scrapped?
Yeah, certainly. I am worried, and I also believe that all Ghanaians should be worried, in the sense that the effects of this scrap will be terrible for all Ghanaians, I must admit, because as we all know, freights currently are very high. Freights are very high. The dollar, as we all know, is also going up. COVID has also hit us drastically, and we are now somehow recovering. So, not to even forget about the high interest rates that probably the government is doing quite well and bringing it down. But even if at the state in which it is now, if we compare our interest rates on loans, is still higher than what our neighboring countries are being offered to their citizens. So if this benchmark value, which is cushioning Ghanaian businessmen, cushioning Ghanaians because Ghanaians buy, and even the AGI, they are kind of lobbying for this whole thing to be scrapped. And it marvels us that how could a sister, a private business entity kind of lobby to the extent that the other party should suffer. Meanwhile, they also import materials, they also enjoy this benchmark value. But if they come out with some weird reasons to say that we are kind of collapsing or we are not helping for their business to flourish, and in other words, they are also trying to do the same to us. But we don't even have that intention. But ours here is such that we will bring in goods, sell the goods at a very, very low prices that Ghanaians can patronize. We are not thinking of making any extraordinary profit, but for the citizenry to be free. That is what we as citizens or we as businessmen, we are fighting for.
Okay, Eric, so I think some of the arguments have been that why should we import things that we can produce? So, it's okay if we take away this benchmark value, then maybe we will feel like we don't have a choice but to produce some of these things. But honestly, do we even have the capacity or the infrastructure to produce these things? And is this the best way to encourage, business people to go into production?
Well, I think that to some extent, I may agree with you. But for now, our system is so poor that we don't even have that capacity to even produce. There are some basic things like toothpick that we import into this, chewing gum, biscuits, matches, not to even talk of even wheel nuts. We can't even produce it. So what is the government helping us? men, polytechnics, technical universities are coming out with innovations that they are not even getting assistance. But yet still, as Ghanaians, as people, we must survive. There are things that are so essential that we need it. And if we can't produce it, we have to then import them. All these things has put pressure on our currency. These are basic things that they all know. There are things that they know. They talk about this entrepreneurship and whatever. They are so basic that everyone knows. But the will to do this thing is not there. So it's something that I think that if government focuses on that area, it will help. I, for one, I like the free SHS, but if it had started with those in a vocational school, I think that would have even helped this country very well than going into this degree thing, this, as we all know, administration, BSc, administration, finance, and those. Whilst the technical school, that this manufacturing of toothpick, chewing gum, biscuits, they are all technical. Fashion and all the other things. So if those things were looked at, I think that would have helped this country far better than creating more unemployment situation in the country.
So Eric, you have a shop. And I'm looking around. Lots of the things in the shop, I don't understand what they are for, but obviously it has to do with cars. How many of the things in this store in Abosokai are produced in Ghana?
It's so pathetic to say that not even a curtain. A curtain that we put in these goods, not even a curtain is produced in this country. Everything we in here in Abosokai is imported from other countries. So there are other things like even farm belts, this moist guard rubbers. There are petty things.
We don't produce them here.
That even these rubber companies could have want to go into it. All those things, they are not being produced here. We have to import everything. Obviously, certain things will put pressure on our currency. As we all know, even today, dollar here, I just asked this morning, and it is 6.3.
It was 6.14 on Friday.
This morning is 6.3 here in Abosokai. And we sit here, and people from Niger, Mali will determine our dollar rate for us. It's so pathetic. At times, we sit and we talk about this thing, and we just don't know what to do. You go there, and a foreigner is trying to determine your rate for you. Obviously, he can't do that alone with the connivance with officials from of the Bank of Ghana and other banks. I think that the government should really sit up on certain things because it's really getting out of hand.
So if the dollar is 6.3 and this cushion is taken away, how will we fix our cars?
My dear, if this cushion is taken away, for me, I don't see the need for government to sit down for the business community to close their shops or to demonstrate. To me, I don't see the need. I expect the government to see reasoning with us that if this benchmark value is scrapped, there will be chaos. Because obviously, the prices, for all we know, it's about 50% we're talking about. So if 50% is taken off on our duties, obviously our prices, if not double, then it will get nearer to we doubling it. Yeah.
Because I think what it means is that if, for example, it's cost you 100 cedis to clear something, if this is taken away, it may cost you, let's say, 140 or 150. So that will be passed on to the customer. Okay, well, it doesn't seem like a very good idea. So what are you expecting that government's response will be to all of these arguments?
To me, I think that the government should not listen to what the AGI is saying. I believe that the government, the good intentions that the government had to bring in that policy, he should still stay on focus. She should still stay focused on today. And then secondly, I also believe that he came for the people. If the government need money to develop this country, it's not on just taking off this benchmark value. The government can widen its tax net by making it friendly, making it accessible for business community to pay their taxes. And more so, the government can as well also go help businessmen to go into this minor products where businessmen can produce certain things. It's things that we need them on a daily basis. But if we end up importing these things, I don't think it will be well for us.
My last question, do you think that we have enough confidence in Ghanaian producers or the industry, the Ghanaian industry, so that if they are producing these things, we will buy them? So you know that, okay, this is a made in Ghana fan belt versus this is a made in Germany or a made in Tokyo fan belt. Do you think that Ghanaians will choose the made in Ghana products?
Well, I think that if they do it and do it well, Ghanaians will buy. There are some products that comes from Nigeria especially, and some other countries we do buy. Because one, we don't even have anything closer to them to lie on. So we end up, buying such products. Besides that, I think that the government can also help, businessmen and women who really want to go into manufacturing, like this moist guard rubbers, like this back rubbers, like all those rubbers, on cars, materials like this seat covers. There are some petty things that we need. The government can help businessmen to go into such areas so that we won't end up importing certain things into the country. To me, I think that the government can, if he really has a will to do it, like as he did with the free SHS, he can as well do this.
Okay, well, thank you very much for speaking to us. And you've heard how generally, the Spare Parts Dealers Association feel about the possibility of the scrapping of the benchmark values. The question now, of course, is to scrap or not to scrap. Israel, I'm going to come back to you for a few minutes, and then I can go out there and speak to some of those who sell here. So back to you, Israel.
Much Enimwa Enimado, who is blessing the streets with herself, the adorable Enimwa Enimado.
Hello, my name is Nathaniel Atto. You can catch up with all the fun and inspiration on the Joy Sports link here on Joy 99.7 FM, together with all other shows over and over again. It's very simple. All you need to do is go to myjoyonline.com/podcast and relive all of those fun moments over and over again. Joy 99.7 FM, your radio for discerning listeners.
Joy 99.7.
Now, here in the studio, their school is the defending NSMQ champions. They graduated 25 years ago. And as their tradition will have it, they are the organizers of this year's Speech and Prize Giving Day, which is the 83rd edition. This morning, we're glad to have joining us in the studio two gentlemen from Presec Legon, and they are members of the 96-year group, Odadie Augustus Richardson, who also happens to be the Honorary Secretary of the Ghana Institute of Architects, and Dr. Erica Sante Daku. Gentlemen, welcome.
Our pleasure.
All right, so my little chat with some old students of Presec seems to suggest there's something unique about the 96 group. So you tell us, what makes the 96 group such a unique one?
Well, you were not lied to. I remember when we were in Sunday school, they said Jesus was asked the same question and he threw it back to them, that what do you say, or whom do you think I am? So it's best for outsiders to extol your virtues. But I think in our particular case, we were a little peculiar because we were the year, that is the 1996 year group, we were the only year that was able to have every bit of Ghana's educational system, as it were. Okay. So when we entered Presec in 1994, we met with the last batch of the O-levels, who now transitioned to become the A-levels. And so they finished in, I think that was in July, before they handed everything over to us to handle as an independent society on Presec campus. that transitioned us until we finished in December 1996. So if you look at it, we benefited from having our senior brothers there with us. They homeowned us, they did all those ones, and then we took it up ourselves to manage the student population. So that made it a little peculiar for us, and it's been with us since then. Right. And going forward to the university right up to now, we seem to be doing very well, and no wonder that our global president during our lunch or soiree of this 83rd Speech and Prize Giving Day described us as special. And when Mr. Ofori Sapon, Dr. Ernesto Ofori Sapon tells you that you are special, then you know that there's something special about
You're special like a specialized.
Exactly.
But isn't it the case that you probably were the naughtiest?
I wouldn't say that.
A bunch of very naughty, students causing chaos all over the place.
No, I don't think you can describe our year group as maybe a naughty group. We were I think our predecessors, the 95-year group, had won the NMSQ, which interestingly, the National Maths and Science Quiz, which interestingly we are about to just compete in at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, at 9 o'clock, pre-sec.
And hopefully, by the grace of God, take it for the 7th time, which we're really routing for.
Let's see how it goes.
Well, yeah, you never know.
There's a crack also in there, and there's a Kaufman School also.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the records, I think they speak for themselves. So I'm not going to go into that. But I think that what is even more special for us was that almost in 2010, we started meeting together as the 96 year group and started doing certain things to give back to the school. Hallmark of which was the mentorship program that we started with. So the interest was that, as a student, young person in school, you're sort of wondering, what's the future like? I mean, if I want to be a journalist, if I want to be a doctor, I want to be an architect, I want to be a pilot, what happens? So we got together a number of the classmates who were doing, all kinds of trades and professions, and went back to the school to give back. And it's something that we continue to do, which will be featured in our program.
Is that the same thing that got Gary and the rest to go back there, speak with the students? Gary Al Smith.
Yes, it's sort of a spin-off of that.
Yes,
but that was the main idea, to try and get people back. And then 5 years after that, we went back to also renovate the classroom block. And then eventually now we have our 25th, which is a hallmark for us, as a school, to have 25 years out of school, sponsor and do the speech and prize giving day. So that's coming up, and we have something very special to share with the general public.
Yeah, so we've seen some videos of your launch on social media. How different is this year's speech day from the others?
Well, there are a number of programs that will be running. I'll let Asante take us through those programs. However, I think what is most special is what we are giving back.
All right.
So historically, most year groups after 25 years will go back to the school, and as is tradition, most people would either support maybe the hospital or build a new block for students, because as you know, the numbers of people who need to get education is really critical, So when we thought about it almost 4 or 5 years ago, our thought was very simple, that, why do a one-time project than to do something that would exist and continue for years? So the idea for us was to come up with a 1 million CD endowment fund for the school, which I must say is very unique, because it's just a year group that came up with the funds and has raised the 1 million. The aim of it is not to spend, it's like a golden goose that lays the egg. So the 1 million will always be fixed in history.
Okay.
When we get proceeds from it, half of the proceeds will be given to the school. A board of trustees will be set up around this. And basically, they will make decisions on what is necessary for the school. I must say that, those things are not the brick and mortar stuff. It's the more subtle, additional stuff that you need in education, beyond, education. For example, learning to play instruments, learning to play chess. These are very important things that would help us to project as a country. And then the other half gets reinvested back in the money. 10, 20 years down the line, what you will realize is that PRESEC will be sitting on huge funds. And we believe that, together with the global Odadie, we want to get to a point where the school has internally generated funds that can run in just about anything that the student will need. so far as the school.
Would then that mean that you probably wouldn't have to rely so much on the old students coming back to, put up, infrastructure?
We would always rely on that. That is necessary. But we think that just like great institutions, in North America and other places have done, they have endowment funds that support education.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we are thinking about. And we believe that with this trailblazing act, a lot of the other year groups, and indeed the Global Odadia, which already is also looking at a fund, will continue to support the activities of the school.
And I just wanted to add on to what my brother said, that the fund, as it were, we have our global Odadia, which has an endowment fund in place. Yep. Ours is more like an excellence fund, which is in no way going to compete with it. It's more like a complementary aspect of the funding. And what we, incidentally, every single dime of this money came from within the Odadia 96 group. So that is a compliment which I would want to thank my people for, the entire membership of Odadia 96. And then also to indicate here and now that there were other things that we had done when he was mentioning. We've contributed immensely to the Odadia fraternity, and we will continue to do so. And so, the new TV radio station that we have, I believe you know about it. When you go to the Zeno platform, we have Odadia Radio. These are finer things that we want to support with this excellence fund. Finer skills, not necessarily brick and mortar, but like robotics, if we want to support them, national science and maths quiz, any other things such that my brother talked about, to wholly develop the individual to become the pre-seconds that the future holds for us.
Okay, so for the benefit of the Odadia fraternity that are watching us, if you could just run us through the programs that you have lined up.
All right, so we had our soiree to launch the program on the 29th of October, which was a huge success. And then during that program, the global president and the assistant headmaster, they mentioned that they had never seen such a thing before, such a nicely organized program. And taking off from that, it runs through on the 20th of November, come Saturday, on Presec campus from 7:30 a.m. We are gathering to have perhaps one of the biggest activities of the year. That is the Sports and Health Fiesta. And with this, we are going to have all manner of sporting activities, football and all that, indoor, outdoor games. And then we will also concurrently run a health screening program. We are aging, so we need to, and we are in the COVID situation. We want to ensure that at least as many of us are as healthy as we should be. So we're going to check on diabetic screening, hypertension, body mass index, all those ones for free. There are selected doctors that are going to be on standby to attend to any such advice that will be given to the people. Then on 24th, on that same day, we induct the 2011 year group into the Odadia fraternity. Okay. They've been handed over to us to nurture, to replicate what the Odadia 96 stands for. So we would have that. Then on the 24th, we will have a mentorship program where we are going to the students in the evening to be able to let them know their career path. So that if someone wants to become an architect like my brother, someone wants to become a medical doctor, an astronaut, what are the pathways to be able to get there, which is very important at this useful age. Right from then, on the 27th of November, which is the speech and prize giving day itself, it's going to be mammoth. The packages are, for lack of time and all, we are not able to go through that, but we're going to have a special occasion on that day. Following which, in the afternoon, we will have some form of dinner. Then on the next day, we have our Thanksgiving service at Presec. The speech and prize giving day, 27th, is the highlight of our programs, and it comes up at 9 a.m. at the Presec Assembly Hall.
Okay, all right. So there's, I'm sure if you had the opportunity, you keep on going on and on and on about all the things that you have lined up. But we have your contest coming up. Ooh, that's coming up in the competition, and it's going to be live here, by the way, on the AM show. Well, the AM show ends right about now. But I want to say thank you to the two gentlemen who joined me They are with the 96-year group, or that year Augustus Richard Singh, who also happens to be the Honorary Secretary of the Ghana Institute of Architects, and Dr. Eric Asante Dakon. Thank you both for joining us. So that'll be it for the AM show, but I'll be handing you over. Mapitso Sevedi will be coming in to walk us through the NSMQ contest that we have lined up for today. Oh, yes, before you go, mention your sponsors quickly.
Yes. We would want to, I'll leave you to mention the sponsors, but we want to thank the entire leadership of the Global that year, from Dr. Ernesto Furisapon, right, with his team, and then the headmaster and students of PRESEC, and then the Odadia 96 group themselves, contributing so immensely to this, and everyone that is associated with PRESEC. And then
let me quickly thank Multimedia Group for having us. We're most grateful to you. Medicas Hospital, MTN Momo.
Well, Medicas is Dr.
Safu, who is a year mate. MTN Momo, Imperial Homes, also another the Special Eyes Group, Dr. Forisa Poin's group. Odadia Eugene Ahin, of the head of comms at the presidency. Odadia Paula Dumoche, we'd like to thank him very much. The Watch Shop Limited, PM Wache, also another day. Kofi and Sam, who you know, Mr. Simon Naivi, Dr. Mauli Nyakon, who are all year mates, Dr. Eric Asante Dakon, Vice President, Nia J. Kofe the fourth, who is also a year mate, Dr. Kwame Ntiadei, Mr. Julian Adomako, and indeed myself, who are all sponsors of the event. So we are most grateful to all these.
And we also want to wish our team the very best of luck, and to the entire team, every school, let them have the remembrance, let them be able to remember whatever they've learned, to give us a good, at the end of the day, we are all brothers.
We want a good contest.
A good contest. But the 7th is coming this time.
It's coming home, you mean? Yeah. All right, thank you to you both. Before we go, I have a special birthday dedication. It's from Moses Akrobotu. It says, I kindly wish my daughter, Sesi Awushi Abui Akrobotu of New Pathways Academy, Takrady, a happy birthday. It's from Daddy and Mommy, Komi and Ajo Kokui Akrobotu. We wish you a happy birthday here from ourselves here at the AM show. But thank you very much for watching. I'm Israel I, and I've been doing this with Nimado, who's out there speaking with the spare parts dealers, trying to get the expectations ahead of the presentation of the budgets. Thank you. Let's meet same time tomorrow for another edition. But as I indicated, Mapitso Sevedi is up here, and she's going to be anchoring the NSMQ contests coming up. PRESEC is featuring, and they're saying that they're winning for the 7th time. All right. Have a good day.